As you grow your business, the more eyes you'll get, the more you need to think about your security. Let me ask you something. Are you vulnerable? Protecting your data is extremely important. Don't be fooled by Instagram. The internet can still be a scary space. At the current moment, the dark web accounts for 5% of the total internet, and all hell can break loose without the right framework to keep your company data protected. That's why today's episode is brought to you by NordVPN. What's VPN stand for? It stands for Virtual Private Network, a service that encrypts your internet traffic and protects your online identity. With a VPN, you can securely access apps, websites, and entertainment from anywhere in the world. Picture a virtual force field around your computer. NordVPN is one of the best VPNs in the market. If you're looking for a peace of mind when you're at home on a private network, this is for you. Also, is that messaging app blocked in your region? That awesome TV show unavailable in the country you live in? Change your IP location and enjoy the internet with no borders. Y'all know the Canadian struggle. Trust me, it's real. Right now, you have an offer of up to 68% off NordVPN. Yes, 68%. Hit the link in our podcast show notes for the offer. It does expire soon, so claim it quickly. Now, let's get back into the show. No idea is original. There's nothing new under the sun. It's never what you do, but how it's done. Let's go.
Let's go, man. It's a Saturday afternoon. It's pod season. We're back in the building, ready to drop this episode today.
Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Hustle Over Everything podcast. This is the podcast where we receive stories, tips, and strategies from entrepreneurs who've done it to grow your business and take yourself to the next level as a person. I'm Alex.
I'm Onosinde.
And man, listen. Later today on the podcast, we have Fola Lawson. Fola Lawson is the founder of Southern Gents. It's a menswear line that makes exquisite clothing at an affordable price. You can find them at Instagram at Flawson, FLAWSON_ and the brand Southern Gents at S_GENTS. Oh, and bruh, what's good
Alex.
with you? We were just chatting it up about what were we talking about?
We're talking about Tax Stone, bro.
Tax Stone. Yes. So we were talking about the podcast game and how ads are about to start integrating into our podcast, man. If you don't know, Spotify is integrating ads into their platform, not just on the free service, but on the paid service as well. So if that means if you go listen to Michelle Obama's Michelle Obama's podcast, you will see a ad from Dawn in the podcast, and not like a regular ad where she just stops for 15 seconds. It's actually an ad that's interrupted like a YouTube ad in your listening experience, so the game is changing.
And it's opening up more doors, man, because we have to look the way podcasting has evolved over the years. Remember, take it in, like when the Apple iPod Classic came out, and you used to see, you have your artists, you have your music, you have your library, then you got this thing on the menu item called podcast. Who knew what the hell? I'm like, what the hell is this BS on my iPod? Get this out of here. I didn't even care what a podcast was. I hated the idea of a podcast. I just thought they're a waste of time. Just mind you, this is about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And now look, the iPod Touch came out. People have podcasts on their phone, on their iPod. Even still then, it was still in its baby phase. 2010, 2011, that's when we start seeing people, check out my podcast. And you start falling in love with personalities. And now it's a big, big business.
It's definitely. It's about to hit 20, I think the first $1 billion industry, like the first year of being $1 billion industry next year, I believe.
Yeah.
So because this exploding, why? Is because broadcasting is so expensive, but podcasting is so cheap. So the boundaries of entry is so low. You know what I'm saying? So anybody can hop in and just get
Yeah.
moving.
It's like it's easy to hop in, but it's back to what we were saying last week, bro. Like consistency,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's survival of the fittest.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's so easy to start. Listen, there's a whole bunch of bullshit out there that's talking about, yo, just start. The hardest part is starting. No, it's not. No, the fuck not.
That's
The
the
hardest
easiest.
part is being consistent. Come back to this when your family's in trouble. Come back to this when you're tired and burnt out. Come back when, your relationship is in turmoil. Let's pod then. Let's do your business then. That's when it becomes troubling. When you feel like I'm gonna make no money, keep doing it. That's the challenge. Keep it consistent through tumultuous times, without a doubt.
Yeah, like the thing is, you got to have a reason on why you're doing the podcast. Yeah. So a lot of people that we look up to, the social media gurus, the Gary V's, like, oh, start a podcast. I want to start a podcast. But it's so hard to break your podcast into the market and into the mainstream because there's a couple of things that go into play. One, there's people who already listen to podcasts who are so used to their routine of who they listen to. So for them to give you a chance, it's so hard. So that's why when we got that mentorship from Pineapple FM.
Shout out to Pineapple FM.
Shout out Pineapple. Max. Shout out Max. He's just like, hey, you gotta get someone interested in the first, I don't know how many minutes he said, but I think the first 3 minutes of your episode, right? You gotta get that. Then you gotta get them to come back again week after week after week. Then you got to get them to talk about it because your podcast, the way it grows is people talking about your podcast, right? People say, hey, you should check out this podcast. You should check out that one. But you never go exploring for shows on your own on, let's say, the Apple podcast homepage. So back to what we're saying, man, I think we're in a good position. And I think if you're starting a podcast and you're like, let's say like us, 50 episodes deep, you're clearly a podcaster. Like you can actually call yourself a podcaster at that point. Like you're legit a professional. This is professional podcasting. Day in, bro, take it in. We've never missed a drop date for the past 5 months at 12 p.m. every Monday morning, afternoon. We are there. Like that is a promise, and we're going to keep that promise forever.
Word. Kudos to us, man. That's something with podcasts too that no one really takes in is that like there ain't no breaks. Well, unless you make it like that with seasons, it's just continuous.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, man, but to me, it doesn't even feel like work anymore. I just feel like we come on here, we chop it up, we reach out to guests and etc. And it's like so ingrained in our routine that we don't even think about it anymore.
That's a fact. I still think about it. I won't even lie to you. I still think about it. I'm like, all right, we're going to be the next guest. How are you going to take it to the next level? How are you going to improve the design? How are you going to improve the thumbnails? What's going to be the next thing to take us to the next level? And this, like, improve us incrementally. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to look at nobody else and be like, oh, we need to be like them. I'm like, all right, how can I improve myself? I'm looking at myself in the camera right now. How am I going to, like, improve the visual aspect for when we're on YouTube? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm thinking about all that type of shit.
Of course. Like, it's like the things, and you cannot get to that position until you you commit to being consistent, right? And just deliver. And then you can start thinking about, okay, what's the thumbnail? What's the design? What's the flow? What's the structure? What is the topic we're going to cover, right? These come in deeper later into the episodes. But yeah, man, I was gonna say, you remember when Joe Rogan got the deal from Spotify, then Patrick Bet-David said in that video, he's just like, I will not be surprised if there's gonna be $1 billion deal for a podcast for signing. Do you think that's true?
Most definitely. I just think it depends on who the audience is. If there's some person who commands the attention of everybody, if Donald Trump wants to get a podcast, it's $1 billion deal.
$1 billion signing, eh?
$1 billion signing. If Donald Trump is going to go exclusively to Apple, that's $1 billion signing because everyone's listening to that shit. The entire nation's going to be listening to that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it's possible to have $1 billion deal, or to have $1 billion deal in other aspects, like let's say you know, I have a podcast, but the advertisers on it over time, you know, can equate to $1 billion. You know, like Michael Jordan gets the podcast and says, yo, Nike sponsors all the ads in it for the next 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Then it could be like $1 billion campaign as well. So
yeah,
like,
I'm
you
surprised
know,
not a lot of people who have clout are tapping into this space.
oh no, a lot of people are. Don't sleep. A lot of people are that have cloud are tapping into the space, you know. But you know what's interesting is that not a lot of people can talk for that long. It's going to be interesting to see people actually entertain. Not a lot of people can actually have great conversations for a long period of time, you know. So that's one thing. Like, it's going to be tough for some folk, for real. Is having them real deep conversations, because we're different. We're the interview based podcast, right? Whereas with some people, they just want to hop on and talk. You know, can you talk and entertain folk for 2 hours, you know, and keep that consistent energy?
Like, I think about like Ben Baller. He's great. He does a solo pod and he kills it. Budden is one of those guys who came from rap into podcasting, and he's actually better at podcasting. I feel he has a better podcasting career than the music. Career? Yeah,
for sure. But I think what is good though is that Ben Baller, I think, is one of the greatest podcasters because he's a solo podcaster. And not that many people can pull that off, you know. Joe Budden has Rory and Mal, you know what I'm saying? And they're dope podcasters too. They could actually carry their own selves because they're super witty, you know, and they also have their own personalities that add to it. You know, honestly, I feel like if Joe Budden had his own podcast, it might be overkill. You know,
there's only so much you can take of Joe. I think.
Yeah, you need Joe Budden's like a steak. You also need like the salad. You need, you know, like
peas over the side.
Word. There's someone throws a steak at you, like, all right, I mean, it's a good steak, but like, ain't nothing else.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
The pieces make it like a proper meal.
Facts, exactly. You know? To make you like mentally full, you know. Yeah. So that's what I think about it. And him and Academics were talking about doing a podcast on their live the other day, and I was like, that would be fire.
Who?
Academics and Joe Budden.
Just them two.
Just them two.
What happens to Rory and Mal?
That's his own pod. They have a separate pod with Academics and Joe Budden.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've never really been a fan of Academics. I just find him.
Oh yeah, no. He's annoying for sure. But he has a fan base. He has hot takes, and that'll resonate, and that'll make people gravitate to the episodes. You know, people like, I used to watch Everyday Struggle, even though I don't like act like that. You know, so
it's like Max and Stephen A. Like sometimes in Skip Bayless, they say the most outlandish shit, but like,
come on, Skip.
That's the reason I'm watching them. Is like to hear these slander.
Yo, I love Skip Bayless and this that Shannon Sharp, that relationship, bro. That relationship's hilarious. Come on,
so
Skip.
Good. Skip. Come on.
You need to tell me.
It's like, yeah. Bull jiving and whatnot. Let's just bull jive and Skip.
Yeah, oh my God. Shannon Sharp is probably one of the most entertaining. Him and Stephen A. like top tier.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. All right, let's get to the business tip of the week.
Yeah, what's the business tip of the week, Al?
Man, oh man. All right, Google is phasing out the third-party pixel, guys, or third-party cookies specifically. Let me get my terminology right. So it's very noteworthy. If you don't know already, be very aware. Google's third-party pixel, third-party cookie is coming to a close. What does that mean? That means that when someone comes to your website and you want to track them, it's going to be harder to track them. You want to advertise on Facebook, you want to advertise on Instagram. It's a harder process now to advertise because the tracking is going to cease fire. What Google basically did is shoot themselves in the arm to shoot Facebook in the heart. The whole process of this is basically to control the data. With Facebook, when you advertise on Facebook, it goes to their landing page and Facebook tracks that. You go to another site, Facebook tracks that. When the cookie is shut down, Facebook will no longer be able to track that. You know, that's going to make a huge competitive advantage to Google because when people are going to be searching things same way and they're probably going to have to stay on Google and advertise on Google to make more of those things happen. Do you get what I'm saying? Am I making sense to you, Owen?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, for
Awesome.
sure.
I mean, this can go a little nerdy, so like, let me
Yeah,
know
and I'm
if I
finding
get too
this out from you
technical.
today, right? So like, I'm part of the audience right now, taking in this new
Information.
information. Yeah.
All right, boom. So, what can you do about this? So, I have a few tips here. One is get as much data as you possibly can currently, because it's going to be phased out over the next 2 years, and they didn't give no date, no specifics there. So, you got to just get arming yourself now. If you're not advertising on Facebook yet, on Instagram yet, get to it. And don't hit that damn boost button. You're just setting yourself up for failure. Get learning on how to advertise on Facebook. You don't have to go to a marketer like me. And I would suggest learning first, then holler at somebody like me, or a specialist hiring somebody, or have someone under you or going externally. Either way, don't matter. You should be on it. Number 2 is getting emails, phone numbers, postal codes. People sleep on postal codes. This is very important information. And having that as data in your own inventory. It's very important because when you want to reach back to your audience later in life, it's going to be important that you have this data. You don't own your Facebook page. You don't own your Instagram page. You don't own your YouTube page. You don't own none of that. You only own the information you get yourself. So arm yourself with more of that. So once the pixel's done, you don't have to leverage that. Or the cookies are done, pardon me, same thing. Moving right along. Create better lead magnets. Now's the time to create your lead magnets to get people into your funnel and get more information. It's very similar to the first one, but what I want to highlight here is that even though the cookie is done on third-party platforms, you can get information advertising on Facebook and Instagram by having lead magnets on your socials. So when you have a lead magnet on your Instagram account, people will come to it, they'll click on the link in your bio, and you can still use that data later in life. With your lead magnets on your other accounts, on your Facebook, on your YouTube accounts, you can still have that information later in life. So have those lead magnets on your social profiles ready to go and leverage that. Next, know your landing page. Make sure your landing page is as good as it gets. The podcast with Yara, we talked about using Hotjar to make sure your landing page is good as it can possibly be. Do that. Now it's not a necessity, but having as best as you can possibly be is something that you should be looking into to make sure that once the pixel is done, you have the highest converting landing page that you can possibly have. Moving right along. What I'm thinking is you need to increase your conversions, because once that pixel's gone, once the cookie's gone, it's going to be harder for you to track people who have come to your website and not converted. One of the biggest pluses of a third-party cookie, third-party pixel, whatever, is the fact that you're able to retarget somebody. So Owen comes on to Alex's site to check out him selling cookies. I'm Damon Dash's son selling cookies. And I'm like, all right, let me resell or retarget Owen because he came onto the website and bounced, dipped out of there. And I'm like, all right, I need to retarget him. I can still do that today. But once the third-party cookie's gone, I can no longer do that. So what you can do to increase that is have conversion rates. And increase your conversion rate, by having more social proof. So what is social proof? Social proof is proof socially that your product or service is good. This includes pictures, videos, reviews, 5-star ratings, etc., etc., etc. I would have as much of that on my landing pages, on my socials, so when this pixel's gone, I can increase my conversion rates because I don't have as much ways to track somebody. All right. So just to recap, what do we have so far? Get as much data as you can. This includes emails, phone numbers, postal codes. Get better lead magnets. Create more social proof online. and have the best landing page. Now, lastly, I can end on this line right here. Join more networks. You know, it's getting more and more challenging to grow your business. The pixels are going. You can't really meet people in person anymore. So what you can do is join more networks. Get on Facebook, join more groups. Get on LinkedIn, join more groups. Get on Reddit. Get on more forums. Network online. Grow your brand online. Talk to people. Be social. With this, hopefully you can grow your business and expand your reach online once the pixel third-party cookie is gone. Making sense so far, Owen?
Absolutely, man. I mean, your presence online is essentially the real estate you own, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a piece of property you own. How valuable are you going to make that property over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to attract that? How are you going to attract people to that property, that space? Because everyone has a retail store, right? It's pretty much rent free. You can set up a website. I mean, you do pay to whatever provider you have, but it's easy to set up real estate. But the traffic is what's going to matter, and all these things are going to allow you to assess how to attract the best traffic, what works, with the landing pages, what are the hotspots, and how you can get those people to convert to be customers so they stay in your house so they don't end up leaving. If someone comes in your house, they don't like it, then they bounce. That's a wasted opportunity. So you got to set yourself up in the best way possible to make your house have the best foundation from the basement all the way to the top floor. Mm-hmm. And these are the key things you got to do to really take your business to the next level.
Agreed. So just to wrap it up, let's give some resources that people can use for email. Of course, there's MailChimp, Klaviyo, OmniSend. There's some good ones for emails. For phone numbers, the only one I know of is Superphone. There's also CallRail. Those are two good ones for phone numbers. For postal codes, actually, I'm not aware of that one. I can look it up and follow up in the show notes. Check out the show notes for that. And lead magnets, I would heavily suggest ClickFunnels, but that's the most expensive option. You can also use WordPress and use the almighty option that WordPress have. MailChimp also allows you to create your own landing page if you want something simple. And there's a whole bunch of landing page options, lead pages, ConvertKit. Shout out to ConvertKit. Matter of fact, ConvertKit is a channel sponsor. We'll put the link in the description down below. And yeah, I think that's some good options for yourself when it comes to creating more data for yourself. Be organized with your data. Make sure you tag them correctly so you can get the most use out of your data as well. And I'll leave it right there. You can wrap on that for the business tip of the week.
Yeah, great job, man. That was some knowledge. Ty Lopez goes in there.
Oh my God, I hate that guy.
You know what I value more than materialistic things? Knowledge.
I want to punch him every time he says that shit.
Here in my garage.
His face comes up. Here in my garage. I hate how he talks. He like drags out any R. You know what I'm saying? Knowledge.
I've seen that ad so many times. Here in my garage, just bought this new Lamborghini here. It's fun to drive up in the Hollywood Hills. But you know what I like more than materialistic things? Knowledge.
Oh,
in fact,
God.
That's why I got these 2 bookshelves and stuff with all these books. And one of my mentors used to say, the more you learn, the more you earn.
Yo, you know what I think of when I see that? This is this.
Just punch. Just crunch the man,
Oh my God. He's so annoying, bro. I dislike that guy, but whatever. You know what it is that I dislike is the fact that, remember we talked about on the last podcast of selling and being a good seller? We talked about that on the John Vong podcast. Once you learn how to sell properly, you can use those tools to be evil or to be good. And it feels like he's using those tools to not be good. He's telling people methods that actually are not helpful to make money for yourself. And yeah, man, this is unfortunate, bro.
Yeah, there's like one time when I first came across him, he was saying he reads like how many books a day? Like 5 books a day.
Yeah, okay.
And I find out like it's all audiobooks. I thought the guy actually reads 5 books a day. Like, and he made it seem as if he reads them front to back. I'm like, yo, what do you, he didn't say you have an audiobook. I read
He's a
like one
finesser.
chapter.
He's a
Yeah.
finesser. He's a brother and auntie.
But you can't, like, the thing is, he's such a masterful marketer. He's legit for him to, I mean, he did take advantage of YouTube when it first came out with YouTube ads. So I get to give him that, but he did rise to prominence, like, with the effort he did behind the marketing.
I don't find that, honestly, I don't know if I can call that masterful marketing, because like it's good marketing, but it's to the detriment of a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? I think if you compare him to another combo person, it would be a Gary Vee or a Jabril Agaro. You know what I'm saying? And Gary Vee he charges a lot. He charges $10K to meet with him, sit down with him. $10K
for the 4Ds, right?
Hour. For the 4Ds, exactly.
Yeah.
So, or Jabril Agaro has his business with the Budgetnista, the Literature Academy, and charges $20 a month. These are all $1 million companies. And then he charges a whole bunch of money to teach people how to do dumbass SMMA agencies that like 90% of them fail at. You know what I'm saying? So he's teaching people how to fail versus the other people actually working with businesses who are already successful. In Gary Vee's terms, and with Jabril, teaching women how to be financially savvy. You know what I'm saying? That like those are like the people who actually use social media and selling like correctly versus going off and just teaching something that he knows people want but actually can't execute because he's not teaching them the right ways to execute it correctly.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That's where I see what you're saying, because my view from watching Ty Lopez is just how he came up in the past 10 years and now how big he is, but I never really dug deep into his actual things that he's actually selling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He's selling people on some bullshit, bro. He's selling people on some like basically like the offering is some like, all right, you charge people $1,000 to do their social media marketing, and then make money off that. It's like it's just that simple type of thing. Charge them $1,000 a month, and then you'll make money off social media and be a whiz. But there's so much more to it, like so much more, and it's like, man. And for me personally, it fucks up the industry for guys like me who are actually in it for and actually like busting our ass to really provide value for people. So it's like, god damn, so yeah.
Scammers gonna scam, bro.
Scammer them there.
Yep. All right, guys, you know what time it is. It's Mr. Hustle Muscle on the mic, ready to give you the Hustle Nation tip of the week. And that tip of the week is writing 10 ideas down every single day when you wake up. First thing you do. I started doing this back in 2012. I came across a guy called Earl Nightingale. He's one of my favorite self-help leaders in the industry, up there with, Napoleon Hill, Bob Proctor, Tony Robbins. These are the guys like I listen to on the regular passively, and I listen to what they say. And Earl Nightingale had a recording called The Strangest Secret in the World. And one of the secrets was, you become what you think about. And this was like one of the core philosophies that they all believed in. And one of the things he said, the people who are successful in life are very goal oriented. And this is when I started becoming goal oriented at the time. And to really be what you want to be and to build the business you want to have, you got to have goals that you set every single week, every single day, monthly, yearly, 2 years, 3 years, depending how you have long-term and you have short-term. And to get there, you need ideas. You need ideas to take yourself to the next level, to evolve, to build a certain aspect of your business that you might not have thought about, to add certain functionalities, to add certain things that will take you to the next level. And one of the things he said that has worked for a lot of people is first thing you do when you wake up is write down 10 ideas that how you can improve your business or yourself. So what this is going to do is if you have this habit every single day of writing down 10 ideas when you wake up, It could be the smallest thing to write, but you only need one idea to really transform your life. You can have a bunch of good ideas, but you don't have the capacity to execute on many different ideas. You only need one. So one thing that happens is when you have a lot of ideas, you get something called the bridge of incidents. And what the bridge of incidents is one idea is going to open the door to another idea, and that idea is going to open another one. And it's going to be accidental. It's not going to be very sequential. It's just going to be momentarily. You start connecting the dots with certain things, certain people, and you get your mega idea. So start training your mind to really think creatively. And the morning is the best time to do this because you're so fresh, you haven't thought about anything, and you really get your mind ready for the day by thinking creatively, to think productively, and to think with a purpose of tackling something that is meaningful to you, such as your business or yourself. And you're getting yourself one step closer towards having a breakthrough. There are going to be days where you don't get good ideas, but you still power through, because the more you power through, the more you persist in thinking of ideas, the more you are going to train your mind to persevere through difficult moments or challenges that your brain presents to you. So take that in, have a notebook, have a piece of paper, write down 10 ideas, come at the end of the day and look at them, reassess them, see what you like, see what you don't like, and keep doing this over and over and over. Even the days when you have good ideas, but just still write something down, because moments of inspiration, you'll come back to those ideas, and it only takes one idea to get you to the next step, to get you to the next level, and get your dreams off the launch pad, and you're on the way to space, man. So yeah, write down 10 ideas. It's powerful. I've done it. I've gotten a lot of breakthrough ideas, such as business names, angles, strategies, personal development stuff. I mean, it's crazy what the mind can do once you concentrate it with fixed effort. It's going to come up with ideas, man. Trust me. If you have a positive frame of mind, and you're thinking, the universe just brings you ideas out of nowhere. And you ask yourself, wow, how the hell did I think of that? Because we're super beings with super intelligence, and the universe works mentally. So it's always ready to give you what you want when you concentrate and you're vibrating at a high positive state of mind. So Hustle Nation tip of the week: wake up every morning, write down 10 ideas on how you can improve your business or yourself, and just start doing it. And eventually you're going to come across something that's going to be life-changing. And that is a Hustle Nation tip of the week.
Boom, boom. Oh, one thing I want to mention, guys, is that, of course, this is going to be a 2-part podcast, just because it came out a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So
we're very chatty on this one. Would you say, Al?
Big gems throughout the pod. Mm-hmm. So, this will be part 1 and be part 2 following. Now we're going to hop into the housekeeping items and straight into the pod. Enjoy, guys. Hey guys, before we hop into the podcast, we have a few housekeeping announcements. For free to support the podcast, if you're on Apple, make sure you rate and write a review about our podcast. This makes a huge difference. On Instagram, make sure to take a screenshot and tag us in Instagram stories. It makes a huge difference. It helps us share the podcast out and expand the community. On Twitter, we're at 24/7 Hustlers. And on Facebook, we're Hustle Over Everything. Guys, we were busting our ass, especially Owen, working on their weekly newsletter. It's called the 24/7 Hustle. It covers news in business, music, and culture, all through the lens of entrepreneurship. And for our paid options, guys, we have some great merch on the store. Check it out at hustleovereverything.co. And lastly, our Proud to Pay program is linked in the description down below. Now let's hop into the show. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate
man.
you guys for having me. It's a pleasure. Definitely glad to be part of what you guys got going on.
Mhm.
I appreciate that, man. So starting off, man, the first thing that stood out to me was that is the fact that you have a blog. You know, it was originally a blog. You know,
Correct.
what made you like want to start there, and what made it look like this has the trajectory to become a business?
Okay. So that's a great question. In the beginning, like everything, I don't think any of us, kind of figured out what we were doing. We had no idea what we were doing at the time. So, and for me to properly explain, I have to give you guys some context. So when
Mm-hmm.
we started, it was 2012, very early phase of Instagram. So Instagram would pretty much be like how TikTok is right now. So
Mm-hmm.
TikTok exists, but are you guys on TikTok?
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm on it, but I don't post nothing. I don't have the
Exactly. So
whole.
you see what I mean?
I've
It's
had
kind
some
Yeah,
of
posts go viral a little bit.
okay.
get out
Okay.
of
So you
here.
out there? You out here? You
Yeah,
putting in
yeah,
work?
yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
had a post. I was like trying to get McDonald's during quarantine, and then my roommate and I we're standing in line at the drive-through, and then we just made a TikTok, and we're like, "Hey, here we are trying to get McDonald's at the drive-through," and then there's like a bunch of cars behind us, and then we're standing right there, and it got like 800, 900 views in the first like hour.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Damn.
it was kind of, I brought that up because that's really what social media was at the time. I mean, it was really just Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So what we were seeing was based on what we were seeing in the city, my friends and I. It was more of a situation where we were trying to bring some kind of essence to the city because we got tired of going to this clubs all the time. There weren't really like networking mixers and guys dressing up properly, like the whole concept of style and the thought about being a gentleman. So at the time, it was just simplest to write about it because you didn't really have social media where you could dress up or post a story and look good and have anything go viral, right? So that was kind of the medium to kind of connect with folks was either having a Facebook page or having a blog. Like there were blogs to where you literally had to submit a photo, like email through email. If you had a photo of a suit, you would go on there, like say like a Black men's page or whatever. You would upload your photo and even Tumblr pages. So the whole concept of somebody just finding your photo on the popular page or through a hashtag or just running across your account didn't exist. So that was just my way of trying to communicate with people. And what I understood at the time was that people really weren't educated. A lot of guys weren't really educated about style, right? So things like what type of different dress shirt collars exist and how to wear them. So I was just like, okay, I mean, this is how I dress up and dress to work every day. So I'll just talk about it. And that's how the whole blogging experience started out.
Got you. Got you. What were you doing for work back then?
I was an accountant, so my background is in accounting. I went to U of H, studied accounting, spent a lot of time in public accounting. So I'm a CPA by trade. So it was kind of like my work uniform in a sense. I didn't have to. It was business casual, right? So the nature of the job was going to different companies like every day. So I was never in the same place for longer than 4 to 6 weeks, right? And so here I am, this young Black guy walking to a corporation, and you could kind of feel that stigma of like, what's this dude doing here? You just walk through the doors, you don't work at the company. So for me, it was just my way of packaging myself to basically dampen any kind of networking or workplace issues that I might encounter, which I'm sure you guys at some point have run across. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna dress my best. I'm gonna wear a blazer, or if I'm just wearing a button down, I'm gonna make sure I have a tie. I'm just not going to settle for average, right? Because that's just the way the world is. It's based on perception and stigma. So I was working in corporate America, just doing my thing, and I just figured this was fun. This is something I enjoyed, and I just wanted to find a way to share it with people.
Got you. Got you.
Yeah, it's like crazy how we have to do the most just to look like we belong or not have someone raise an eyebrow at us,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, yeah, I mean, like talking about your path into fashion, you were in accounting before, but did you ever have any aspirations of starting your own business and of any kind at all?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked. I always envisioned myself starting my own business. I just didn't know what and I didn't know how. And so when I was in the firm, it just started to feel more and more real because initially when I started, it was really exciting. I felt like this is something I can do forever, for eternity. But then just like anything, you get good at it and it gets boring or you run into the ceiling. So I started figuring out, okay, what's next? In high school, I used to cut hair. So I would cut my boys' hair on the football team. So that was my first business idea, was to start a barbershop. But then I'm a real quick and dirty guy. Just do the math, pen and paper, whatever, doesn't make sense. And I would charge like $5 per head or whatever to like cut hair. And I think at the time the going rate was actually like $12 to get a decent haircut from a legit barbershop. So it's like, that kind of seems like a difficult effort to like make a lot of money, like from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So, I kind of just dropped that and went to college. But after college, I actually tried to do some CPA services, while I was working at the firm, like just do some small business work. So the first trouble I had, I literally, went around town knocking on doors, small businesses, trying to see if anybody needed help, anybody needed any kind of odd jobs, like maybe somebody to help them account for the inventory, or I don't know, any issues that they would have had. But again, young Black guy asking me to work on my business, never seen him before. It was just like, so it was like, that was like almost impossible. Again, this is pre-social media, pre like Facebook marketing. Facebook was just a thing to where you just upload your profile. So then I actually got one client, which was a previous job that I was working at. And it was this medical supply company, an orthopedic company actually. And they actually gave me some work to do, like, just odd jobs that they didn't have time to get around to. And I did it, but the problem was I was staying up till about 2, 3 in the morning because I still had a job, right? Now I'm working at another job and I'm doing this outside of work. So I would come home, go work out, whatever, and I would try to take on a small business task. And the issue that I had with that was I just really was able to experience the aspect of exchanging your time for dollars, right? So I had to put in 10 hours of work, and if I would bill them $70 per hour or whatever, I'd have to spend 10 hours to get $700, right? $500 to 5 hours. And I just started thinking, this is not realistic. This is not scalable. I mean, there are ways you can scale services, but yeah, I really wasn't a fan of that business method. So I started thinking about scale and a way to build a business to where, I hate to say it because it sounds so cliche, but it's true. Make money while you sleep, and then, slowly but surely, when I backed into, okay, style, I enjoy menswear and all that, I started thinking about, well, if I was able to create a company that sold products to consumers, then that would solve that problem. And everything was kind of like a roundabout full circle way of ending up with this e-commerce business to where we're strictly online, which, by the way, wasn't our original intent either.
Interesting. All right. I also want to really dig into you going door to door, because I used to do that at one point too, selling Facebook ads and social media marketing. So,
oh yeah, how did that experience work out?
Oh my God, that's my answer.
So, I mean, tell me a little bit. I mean, I'm sure we have a little bit in common. Like, tell me about a little bit of the things that you may have experienced.
Oh man. All right. So I've gone into stores and had someone assume I was like Rogers or the Bell, or like, I guess, T-Mobile, trying to like fix their internet or like sell them internet services. And I've had like people just straight up just look at me and be like no, whatever it is, no.
Just like no.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I've had people give me actually the yes. The most annoying one is the yes. And that's the actual no, but they're trying to pacify you by saying yes over and over and over again, but no checks coming through, no follow-up, no email. That's probably the most annoying one possible. Yeah, I've had almost everything, man. I've had clients where they wouldn't actually pay you through e-transfer or anything online and only be check. And like it was a restaurant at one point, and they'd only give you the check in person. And if the restaurant was busy, you're just waiting for like hours.
Oh wow! But they would.
Wow.
They would pay me though, so I hang around for that check.
At least you got the check though.
Still got the check. Still
Yeah,
got the
man.
check. You know, so yeah, I've had experiences. What about you?
As far as door to door,
Mm-hmm.
man. If you don't mind me asking, where you guys from? Like, where you live, and that, so
From
I can give you
Toronto.
proper context. Okay, from
Yeah,
Toronto.
we give you
Okay,
proper
you guys live in.
background. We're Toronto born and bred. I'm Jamaican.
Okay.
Born in Canada.
Okay.
My agency is with media. It's a Facebook
Mhm.
ad agency, paid media, other services upon request, and Hustle over everything's is the other asset of me, you know. So
Okay.
aspect of me. Pardon me. Go ahead, Owen.
Yeah, man. I'm from Kenya. I was born and
Okay.
raised in Kenya from like birth
Shout
till
out to
10
East
years.
Africa.
Exactly, bro. You know how it is.
Yeah.
And then moved to Toronto in 2003, and
Okay.
been living in Canada. Live in a city called Sarnia. Grew up in a city called Sarnia, Ontario.
Okay.
And I came to Toronto for uni at Ryerson University, did business, and was always dabbling in different things, like making started a fashion brand as well in high school. Then made
Okay.
a sneaker reselling marketplace called Sneaker Deck, and then that was over. Then I shifted to podcasting, and I've always known Alex from school, so I'd always see him like, you know when you see another black guy, you first give him that head nod. You're like, what's up?
What's up, my guy? Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
Word.
And then we had some classes, and we like connected, and we're like chopping it up, and like, yo, I was like, I had the podcast before, and I interviewed Alex. Then after the podcast, I was like, yo, Al, come on the pod, bro.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I need some help. And
So you did grow up in Kenya from up till about 18, like 17, 18, around there?
No, like till I was like 9 years old, going to 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you came over to Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay.
And been in Canada ever since. But I go back frequently, not frequently, like maybe every other like couple years. But now that I've graduated school, I can actually do more frequent trips.
Okay. That's dope.
Once we can travel, you know what I'm saying?
Once we can travel, once we can actually hop on a plane and go.
It's down and all that stuff.
Yeah. And you're from Nigeria, no?
Yeah, I was born in Nigeria. I actually grew up in Nigeria till I was about 12, 13, and I came here going on 7th to 8th grade. I don't know if do you guys have the same grade school method?
Yeah, we have the
as
same system.
Same exact.
Through.
Okay, yeah. So 7th to 8th grade, so I came here middle school, which was a great experience for me because I think that I was able to see the best of both worlds. Even though my experience in Nigeria was great, it's completely different here as far as like culture, just even the aspect of racism. That's something that I've had to educate my parents on, in the terms of, and not even just racism, diversity, right? Because when you live in Africa, you're not dealing with other people from ethnic backgrounds, countries, religious beliefs. You do have that, but it's at a different level here, So that was just, it was great to have that experience and then come over to the States and then, growing up like true, like Nigerian American, like having a true Nigerian experience from, 0 through 12, 13. And then I would argue that most of what you learn is in high school. So 14, 16, 17, 18, and then having a Black American experience, going to Thanksgiving, having turkey and stuffing and all that type of stuff, that whole family aspect. Those are two different worlds that, I was lucky enough and privileged to be able to be a part of.
Oh man, there's so much to like.
Wherever you want to start, we can start wherever you start.
Oh man, all right. Well, firstly, how does that influence your business choices? I guess you could start there. Because in is it Lagos you're from?
Lagos.
All right. So the representation there is so much stronger. The fashion there is so strong, and you see that some of that in your designs now, right? So where is the connection when it comes to business and how you move today?
Man, that's a great question. So again, contextually, right? This whole African fashion thing, this is like a new wave. This is a new wave for everybody, even everybody who's 100% African or living in Africa. So, because for a long time, I don't know what you guys' experiences were, but for a long time, it was like ridiculed to be like African, especially if you're like, had more Afrocentric, a more Afrocentric look,
Mm-hmm.
Afro or really dark skin, you would get made fun of.
Yeah.
So now, for the fact that African themes and anything African hairstyles, even for women, African clothing, Afrobeat, for all that to be in popular culture right now is amazing, because it wasn't always like that. And for me, I think when I think back to starting Southern Gents, it was really just one goal. There were a lot of goals. Of course, I wanted to make money and build a successful business, but the goal was really to just make Black people look beautiful. Because as a kid, I would always rip out magazines and put out the pages. My brothers and I, that was our way of decorating our rooms, was just ripping out these pages from Vogue magazine or whatever, GQ, and just you know it was kind of like a real life vision board, right? Putting everything completely across the room, like cars, watches, whatever, whatever. And Black people in the magazine was just nothing that we ever saw, right? And even, from my high school to early college, I graduated high school in 2004. So 2004 to 2008, my high school and early college experiences, I still wasn't seeing these things. I had a Tumblr account and I would always reblog or always go on Tumblr. So it moved from like having it inspiration and vision in magazines to like now going to like the internet and going on Tumblr, because I was always inspired and taken away by amazing photography. And I still really wouldn't see a lot of Black people. It started to come, but then if it's Black people, maybe it would be Black women or a Black woman's body, something like that. It was never a Black gentleman, right? So I guess it just came from an appetite of wanting to create something that I wasn't seeing. And so when we started, that was just naturally our focus, because we're trying to find ourselves in the world. We're trying to see more of what we look like and normalize, Black men looking the part. You guys probably don't know this, but our very first thing before even making clothes was doing networking events. So we would have these sort of like professional happy hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I read
we
like
would
you did mixers and stuff.
Mixers.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So we would those mixes were amazing. We would do it kind of like backwards from a marketing aspect, because traditionally, like, for you guys remember club flyers, right? Like people put them on your windshield wipers and all that type of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. So we wouldn't do flyers, but we would do, like, at that time Facebook was really popular, so we would just do Facebook a Facebook event, and invite a lot of people, create an internet flyer, like send it around, text it to our friends. But instead of using a pretty girl, or a beautiful face, we would use like a really handsome guy that was like well dressed, right? And it was supposed to just be like, it wasn't really supposed to be an event. It was supposed to just be like an afterward kickback, right? And so what ended up happening is people would start like really dressing up to go to work, because it would be like at 5 and 6, and then they would come to the event afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And the turnout was amazing, because women love to see well-dressed men. So we would have like 5 to 1 women to men, and you already know what happens when you have that. Like, women come, fellas
Game
is
on.
like, yo, what's poppin'? Like,
What's good? Yeah.
those were our early experiences. And to answer your question, it was we just wanted to um, fill that void, like find a space to where, okay, we're not seeing this. This is something that we aspire to, what we're already seeing, which is beautiful product, beautiful photography, beautiful videos, movies, but how can we include ourselves in what's going on in the world?
Yo, you know what's crazy? Like, I also had the same experience as you, looking at all these magazines. And this is before Bevel came in and was actually promoting like that Black sophisticated look.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to be, when I went to the grocery store with my mom and my sisters, I always loved picking up a Esquire magazine or GQ. I was like, what is the look right now? What's in? What little pieces can I take and incorporate, even for me in high school, like a nice shirt, like a dress pants, like what are the combinations? And I always felt deflated after I look at the magazine, just because there was no one who looked like a dark skinned Black man. And if it was a Black guy, it was like a light skinned
Right.
person. And yeah, I appreciate that, but like, can we have like a true, like, dark skinned guy, like looking
Yeah.
fresh, looking good? And we also had this conversation earlier today, yesterday actually, about how Black people in luxury, companies don't want to associate luxury with Black people.
Mm-hmm.
There was like an article that was written here in Toronto, like a girl, it's like called Cabana. It's like a nice pool bar outside Toronto on the docks, and
Mm-hmm.
Black people go there, but the promotion they use for it, you'll not see any Black person, but they bring a lot of Black people at this event. So I just want to say I totally understand where you come from, because I also had the same feeling, and I kind of gave up reading up those magazines for like years, and until Pinterest came out, and then I start seeing more dapper looking guys, like Black men. And even now, like, it's actually a thing now, you see like Black men going to brunch and they have like nice blazers with the loafers and a proper cut. So yeah, man.
Yeah, it's a real issue, and sometimes it's a heavy issue. It's something that all of us as Black men and women have to deal with. Is you almost feel like you're not accepted or you don't have a place in the world. And I didn't have this conversation again, like I had this conversation with you guys earlier, because my parents were African. Like I wasn't able to get the education on race diversity. I don't even want to call it racism, but just race diversity, how to, handle yourself, self-presentation, because there's a certain stigma that the world has, whether we like it or not, about being Black. So I had to self-educate on all these things. And for me, as I've self-educated, what I've really learned is that it's a human problem. It's not just racism, because when you watch kids, kids don't understand racism. Like if you put a Black and a white kid together, they're playing in the same room, having a blast. So when race is a it all has to do with superiority, and a lot of it is based on classism and who had the power. So if you reverse the roles, right, and if Black people were white people, it would be inversely related. We would look down on the world would look down on things that were Caucasian based, blue eyes, like straight hair, whatever, because we would be viewed as the more powerful race, like through all the readings that I've done, all of these things are based on who has the wealth, who has the power, and whoever has the wealth and who has the power, um, really then dictates. They write the history books. They dictates what's great, what's accepted in community, what the laws are. So, which is why I love the movement right now, which is going on, where the Black community is trying to strengthen itself, and people are being more conscious to not just buy Black, but celebrate our own culture and support our own communities, because I really believe that until we're able to start to attain wealth, build our own enterprises, build our own communities, we're really not going to be accepted in the world, because no one's going to create a space for us.
Unless we create a space for us.
Exactly. I mean, you have to have other things that other people respect and want, right? If you're coming to if you have a house party and there's like three people in there and there's no girls, no one's going to want to come, right? But if this party is spilling into the streets, people in the parking lot having a great time, like, everybody's tweeting about it and posting a story. Now everybody wants to be a part of it. And that's what I think when I think of Black excellence, that's what I envision. That's what I see. Because as long as we continue to do our own homework, it's not for everybody else to accept us or to create a space for Black people. The more we celebrate ourselves and build successful and strong communities, everybody else is going to want to be a part of it. That's what happens in the music industry and in the sports industry. Everything Black is phenomenal. Like no one wants to watch a basketball team when there's no Black players. LeBron is not playing. Steph is not on the court. The minute you learn that these guys aren't going to be on the court because they're injured, you don't even want to watch the game, right? So it's the same kind of thesis, to where if we continue to execute amazing movies, amazing services, amazing construction, amazing medical, like, we have to level up and start to create stuff, or else I just don't think that we'll ever be respected.
No, you raised some good points, man. You raised some absolutely good points. And also, like, the government has to respect it as well. You know, like I was recently, man, I'm so late to the game, but I'm just like diving deep into the crack epidemic through studying like Freeway, Ricky Ross, and that whole debacle. And I was telling Owen about it like earlier, and how that went down, and how the government was complicit. And I was like, wow, you know, what you said is correct, of how when there's a class system, there's certain things that's done to keep them in that same predicament. You know, are you familiar with that, right?
I'm not very familiar with the story, but I'm sure you could educate me a little bit. But are you talking about being familiar with the government being complicit with a lot of, wrongdoings in community, like Black Wall Street, for instance, and things of that nature? Talks Tulsa, the
Yeah.
Tuskegee Airmen, all those things, exploitation of the Black community in a sense.
All right, so I'm gonna break it down real quick. Try to keep it like the minute to 2 minutes. So essentially,
let me get a Cliff Note version.
All right, so essentially, Freeway Ricky Ross is in L.A. And Compton, I believe, and he starts becoming a drug dealer, and he levels up and ends up getting his product from a CIA operative.
Okay.
And they start feeding drugs into the United States through different platforms, Mexico, et cetera, to fund the Nicaraguan war. So because they believe, this is during the Cold War era, that if they don't give guns to Nicaragua and they don't become a democracy, then Russia can fund them and eventually have them as a backdoor to the United States. So because of that, they were selling drugs and guns to other countries to fund that Nicaraguan war. And they couldn't give funds illegally because they were terrorists. So they say they can't really negotiate with terrorists. So in the front facing, they were like, all right, we're going to stay away from them. But on the back, is like, no, we can't risk that. So we can't risk our American families. You know what I mean by that? So we got to find ways to fund them. So Free Ricky Ross is a young Black entrepreneur that cannot read and has a business where he becomes the kingpin and has a run of 8 years. And when he's asked, like, later down the road, like, hey, how'd you keep going at this? He's like, yo, I couldn't even keep up with supply as a drug dealer. Have you ever heard of that? A drug dealer that can't keep up with supply? That means they were, like, rushing, like as much as they could to try and fund this war. And they weren't caring about Black people. You know what I'm saying?
So what was your takeaway from all that? Like, I'm interested to hear just a quick summary of your takeaway.
Quick takeaways was, one, they don't care about Black people. Two, this shit's a setup, you know? So it's like an infrastructure setup of, all right, we'll keep them down by giving this. It's like a sacrifice that'll try and go unnoticed, essentially. And then we'll make money off it by over-policing them, and then have the prison industrial complex boom. So it's a trap.
It's a trap. And I think that was my point exactly. Like, I think for us as Black people, we have to stop delegating, basically outsourcing people caring about the community. No one's going to care about the community like we care about the community, right? And so I hate to say it, in that story, I look at Freeway Rick Ross like the sellout, you know what I mean? Like, and that's essentially what happened. Even if similar to slavery, right? Like, there's a lot of misconceptions with slavery. Slaves were basically sold by other Africans, right? In exchange for, I don't even know what the currency was, but mostly like guns, liquor, or whatever the Europeans had. It wasn't as though they just came and rounded up troops. There's so much unlearning that we have to do, and there's so much unpacking. It's easy to always play the victim game and make it seem like something is always being done to us, which is part of the problem. We're definitely under attack. We're always exploited, right? But we also have to start looking in the mirror and start having conversations of what we can do better for our communities. And we have to start checking stuff like culture is so important. The things that we accept in our own community. There's a book that I would love you guys to read. I'm not a big reader myself, but if I could find a book that is going to blow my mind and change the way I think, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
So the book is called, I might mix it up. The title could be, easily switched, but I think it's called Black Rednecks, White Liberals, or White Liberals, Black Rednecks. Either way, same thing. By a black economist, Thomas Sowell. And he basically goes further into, things that plague the black community. And a lot of it comes down to our culture, things that we accept, because it's not we've always in the streets or whatever, we praise drug lords, we praise kingpins, we praise gangster rap. And so yes, the CIA was implicit in all these things, but we often serve as the catalyst to help them destroy our own communities. And so I don't think that we're ever going to get to the point to make other races and groups of people care about our community. I think that the onus is on us, right? And we have to be the shield. We have to be the defense. Like, we have to be the ones who put up a shield, because they'll always find a way to infiltrate the system. Because I still want to know who the fuck killed Nipsey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just things like that. How is someone who's doing such great things in the community ends up dead? And it was just like, oh, some random guy that was just like mad at him comes to the store. I don't know the true story behind that. But one thing we know is for sure, the hitman was a black person. And, we, as sad as that event was, it was such an easy cover up, or whatever happened. Even however you want to spin it, if it was a government issue or if it was just street shit, that was I feel like that whole incident set Black America back about 5 to 15 years. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Man, Nipsey Hussle, man, that was such a tragic story. Yeah, I definitely agree, and not honestly disagree, but I'd say like the seeds are planted, from what Nipsey was creating. One thing that was so like amazing about Nipsey was that he touched on every aspect of being a black man. He was in tech, he was in the street, he was an artist, he was a musician, he was a husband, he was a son. He had every aspect of that, so we could all identify with this man. And him dying planted seeds in all of us. From Nipsey passing, I dived deep into Idris Sandu and found out about how he's developing spatial labs and what he's creating, and think, all right, what can I create? Now ideas are coming to my head, So seeds are planted, it's the most unfortunate thing. And I do think it sets people back, but I think the seeds that he started are gonna flourish in a lot of different ways.
I agree with that, I guess, but the point that I'm trying to get at is, as unfortunate as it is, this was such a great person. Seeds are planted, I 100% agree, right? But I want to know, like, I feel like he was just getting started. I mean, he'd been in the game for a while, but Victory Lap was his first album. Everything else was a mixtape, and that album was fire, he was touching people left and right. And so the things that I look at is, how do we stop shit like that from happening? Like, and why is it okay? It just is a very difficult conversation, because he should have been protected, and if something was going to happen to a man like that, it just is like a dagger in the soul to know that it was one of us for whatever reason. And I think that we have to pay attention to stories like those, and we really have to start to change the conversation. We have so much shit that we talk about in the culture, like snitches get stitches. You know what I mean? Like, these things could save lives. These things could change generations. Like, so we have to have deep conversations. They're not going to be comfortable, but I think we'll make the greatest strides in our community by taking a deep, hard look in the mirror, and starting to have conversations with ourselves and each other, start healing and start building.
I agree, man. We definitely start building more, man. So
I know we're getting a little bit off.
We got way off track.
Man, that's just how life is, man.
Looking back at the show, like, damn, nigga, we went far. Yeah. But man. So let's get back into your story. So
the grind.
You had the mixers, and you're seeing things start to bubble, and you're like, all right, let's start a brand. Correct? Where did you go from there?
So we said let's start a brand. We definitely knew that it would be tough making money with events because that's just a whole nother angle. Liquor license establishments, like that's a high capital industry. Like you have to have a lot of money to make money. So the tools that I learned and I told you guys about, exchanging time for dollars, startup capital was another one. So it just started to become more and more apparent that it might be a good idea to get into the product business, right? Because you could kind of control your growth. You can make a little bit, try to sell it. If you make money, great, you get to make some more product. So our actual goal was to get into, we really were like really a big deal. Like a lot of people really didn't wear suits. And if you wore suits, it was like, oh man, you got your suit from like Macy's, or like, oh man, that Hugo Boss suit, or that Express suit. The whole concept of guys going out and getting their clothes made is so new, or even getting their items tailored. Like we've evolved so fast. It's been just a little bit over a decade, and there's been so much change. So at the time, what we wanted to do was just be a complementary brand. So okay, guys have a nice black suit or a slim fit. Slim fit was like, oh man, slim fit suit, you know. So our angle was like, man, if we can make like really dope accessories, because if the accessories at the time were like really old school, like those really shiny ties and things like that. So we want to use fabrics and textures and patterns. And our thought was we could create a dope ass fire accessory line, and hopefully we could get into department store, and that would be all she wrote. That was literally like the dream. Long story short, we started getting into the business, and we did start having conversations with department stores, but you know, things didn't quite work out that well. We didn't get these distribution deals for whatever reason, even though they claim to love our stuff and love our brand. So at that point, once it started becoming pretty much almost certain that, you know, the distribution angle wasn't going to work for us, my whole thing, I just told the rest of my guys, like, hey, I think we just have to go full on. We were full on e-commerce, but at the time we were thinking about going to trade shows to vend and get buyers to shop our brand and stock them in boutiques and stuff like that. So once that didn't work out for us, right, after trying a couple of times, we'd already been selling online. So I just said, hey, instead of, you know, trying to be accepted in an industry that's so difficult to get into, even though it could change your life, why not just take this whole thing and do our own thing and do whatever we want? So we came out with fedoras. I think at the time we just started doing top coats, which gave us a lot of confidence and ambition that we could actually get into clothing. So we just started going from there, because it was almost like one door was shut, right? And, you know, we didn't let that door that stop us. We just said, we're just going to keep going, and we're just going to find another way.
So, 1 second. What was not working, and what lessons did you learn that you could share with our listeners?
From the standpoint of when we were in accessory game?
Yeah.
Well, okay, the first lesson, I wouldn't say anything wasn't working. I would say our vision and our success was based on somebody else's answer. I don't know if that makes sense. So basically, the success meter was, does somebody else say yes, right? Like, did we get into JCPenney, or did we get into Village, or exactly the gatekeepers? And, you know, at the time it was kind of tough for me mentally, because I started doing a lot of research. There were times where I experienced forms of mild depression, I would say, because I just felt like I wasn't succeeding. And so I started doing a lot of research and self-education. And, you know, one of my biggest mentors, like, of course, he doesn't know he's a mentor to me, but the content that helps me the most is content from Seth Godin. And he has so many great acronyms and sayings and short just schools of thought that really changed the mind. Like, for instance, purple cow, which means that, you know, you see tons of cows every day, and, you know, that's what business looks like, just a bunch of cows, right? And in business, you have to learn to be a purple cow, right? Like, if you were driving, you know, in Toronto, and you were driving all the way to another city, roads and roads, you saw cows and cows and cows. you wouldn't stop for any of those cows. But if you saw a purple cow, you'd stop and take a picture. And also, he also talks a lot about gatekeepers and how with the internet today, he's an internet marketer and a best-selling author. So he talks about how there's lack of great gatekeepers with the internet, and we could literally do whatever we want, and people settle for watching cat videos, you know? So just little things like that to where we really have the power today. So after digesting a lot of that content, you know, that was able to get me re-energized and get back on the road and figure stuff out. But the first thing I would say is that, you know, you determine your own vision, and to not let what someone else's view or someone else's school of thought, whether it be race or whatever, you do you, right? You determine what your own vision, what your own happiness means to you. And that should never be dependent on another person. If you're a recording artist, don't wait on a label. Get out there and shoot a video. Go make a viral TikTok video. You know, like go on live. You know, end up like DJ D Nice. You know, have 100,000 viewers on a live. You know, stuff that's never been done before. The second thing I learned, because when we got in accessories, we were testing out different things. You know, we did lapel pins, which, you know, we still do because they're a great accessory for the hat, but they're one of the only things that we still do. We were doing ties, bow ties. We even did eyewear. So I think we got to a position where we started stretching ourselves too thin. And so one of the things I would tell to other, you know, young entrepreneurs is to not stretch yourselves too thin, and you know, keep your eye on the prize and try to develop a circle of competence, right? Like respect industries. And I think not intentionally, but unintentionally, we were trying to get into industries where we didn't maybe have the necessary education, or we weren't educated about enough to succeed, because eyewear is a completely different game. You know, it's so technical. The manufacturing is different. Everything's different. That's almost a necessity. It's prescription based. Whereas if we had just stuck with what we knew, we probably would have accomplished a lot more in a shorter amount of time.
So pivoting from accessories to what you're doing now, your background's in accounting, and, you know, like now you're in the fashion game, and going from accessories to actually making cut and sew products. Who on your team had that knowledge of making like cut and sew products and actually making like fine tailoring? Where did that experience come from, and what was your first step into going in that direction? Like, what was your first piece, and how did you get it made? Who was the designer? All that stuff that goes into making a brand.
You're reaching in the bag for that one, huh? Man, you guys are asking some great questions. That's a great question. Actually, it was me. I'm the guy who comes up with the media content and works on the clothing, and my business partners pretty support me in business aspects like customer fulfillment, marketing, budget, taxation, like so many things that go into business. But it was me, and I didn't really have the knowledge. So, and it was overwhelming. But, you know, when I first wanted to get into the clothing and start manufacturing, I really didn't know where to start. But I had to go back and remember to, you know, when we did the accessories, I really didn't know where to start either. And so my biggest mantra in life is to simplify everything. And I think in life, every single thing can be simplified, from the way a car works to a plane flies, right? You could always break it down to science, to a common sense science, at least I would say. So I just took a mindset of, I'm not a designer. You know, I would never claim to be a designer. I can't do, I forgot what it's called. Basically, when you come up with the actual sketch for the garment. So I just focus on being a consumer, which is what I really try to keep in mind for the brand. How do I want my clothes to look? How do I want my clothes to fit, right? And so I would just take clothes that I already had and go to my local tailor. You know, I would have all my clothes tailored already, but if there was something I didn't like about my garment, I would change it and fix it. And then when I would find the manufacturers we were working with, I would send it over like, hey, I don't know, I can't give you patterns, I can't give you this and that, but this is the type of fabric I would love to use. This is the type of items. I would find pictures from Pinterest or, you know, Google images or whatever and kind of create. I'm more of like I took a scrapbook route and, just send them a scrapbook, send them an idea, a well-written Excel spreadsheet, because I'm still an accountant, right?
Yeah.
Have all my tabs laid out, and, we'd go back and forth on emails, and, it would take a couple of tries, maybe 1, 2, 3 samples, and we'd get the item right. And once you get that process right, once you're able to create that first item, it's really just rinse and repeat, because you could always figure out to communicate with someone even though you don't speak the exact same language.
So with launching the brand now, where did you get the money? Was it from your accountant, or like how'd you get? Because fashion is a cash burning business.
Whew, man, is it? It
Right?
was tough, man, in the beginning. To be honest, I'm a huge fan of skin in the game. I never really was big. There's just something about, you know, like loans, and it's just a scary experience to kind of like just keep going in debt, especially speaking to someone who went to college and came out of college with student loan debt. So when we started, it was we were just taking turns. You fund the first one, I fund the first one, or I think the very first order we just did like even split across the board. We just like all put $1,000 up, and then we had like $3,000 to $4,000 or $5,000, whatever we started with. But then, in the beginning it's really tough because you don't have that traction. You're not getting that. You need a cycle. It's a cyclical business in fashion, or in any product business. You need to sell before the products are sold out. You need to have your replenishment order put in, and that's something that we learned like painfully. We probably we're still trying to fine tune that whole science, but it's always, like you said, a revolving door, and it constantly needs cash to feed the engine. So we started out with just our personal savings or our personal jobs. We were still definitely it was certainly a side hustle, 1,000% side hustle. So we'd go to work, budget, everybody do what you got to do, but just make sure you have your $1,000 for the whatever fund. Then as we graduated and started making more expensive product like leather shoes, which could cost something up anywhere from $50 to $100 per unit for production, really expensive, right? So 20 items, you're already looking at like damn near just for 20 units of shoes, that's $2,000, So it got really expensive really fast, and you can't manufacture that low, right? You have MOQs with factories that you have to adhere to. So we went from a regular production run of being able to make accessories for $800, $1,500 to, we had to make products for $20,000, right? So we had to come up with that money. So we went from personal savings to maxing out our credit cards. Like, you max out your credit card now? Okay, all right, I went, and then you max out your credit card next. But that was a great experience, because what it did is you have so much skin in the game. You're super motivated, right? Because you're like, hey man, I gotta pay my shit back, right? And it's a way. It was, in a weird way, it was a way that kept each of us accountable, right? Because if you're taking turns doing something like that, well, someone might slack off, like say for a couple of weeks because they didn't fund this go around. But in a couple of weeks when they funded it, they see how serious, like, man, it's real out here. Like we gotta make the sales, we gotta push photo shoots, whatever we gotta do, get going. So I think that for business, for us, the way that we chose to fund was and it wasn't a conscious decision. It was just like, that's just the only thing, because we knew we weren't going to get a business loan. I think we tried to get business loans, even though we didn't really want to, but as production grew and we had more demand, so it was just really our only option, and that's what we chose to do. But it helped keep us honest, and it helped keep the grind. It kept hustle over everything, for real.
For real, man. And like that's to have the ability to stomach, we're maxing out our credit cards for to sell these items. And like fashion is not a guarantee that you're gonna sell everything and make your money back. How do you guys stomach that like risk appetite to like be able to, what, we're gonna go in, if it all goes crashing in flames, we can't move these products, we're gonna deal with it. How did you guys mentally get yourselves to that level? Did you believe that things are gonna work out, or you just would believe in the brand that whatever happens? Like, what was your mentality behind maxing out your credit cards?
Great question, man. So Yes, we believe, but also it's also weird because I always tell my friends, and I always tell everybody I know, people who come to me. I have a lot of friends or associates who come to me for advice, and the biggest advice I could give anybody is start small. Because I can sit here and I can tell you, oh yeah, we just knew it was going to work, or we were just going to hustle and work our asses off, or whatever. But at the end of the day, you can't manufacture confidence overnight, right? It's something that has to be built. And so I think that the way that we started, starting out small, starting out with accessories, selling a few, not selling some, having to trash some, getting products that were like crap from the manufacturer, having to throw out some of those products. We were able to fail and learn on a very, very small, manageable basis, right? Like most people can afford to blow through and lose $1,000. Like, hey, you go on a vacation, or you do something real nice or whatever. $1,000, you blow through $1,000 fairly easily, right? So it's like that's not something that's going to destroy you, right? But you go and make the same decision for 10, 15, 20, 30, $50,000. It's a completely different conversation. So because we kind of inched our way to, we didn't start out making leather shoes or coats or whatever else we make now. We were able to see some traction. Like at this point, we had a mailing list. At this point, we knew our peak season. We knew that certain seasons, like in the winter months, were really good seasons because people are shopping more. The climate is changing. It's colder. People wear more clothes. So these little things were able to give us that confidence to where it was time. And also we knew that as hard as we were working, what we were getting at the time, like we couldn't settle for that, right? Like even if we were having like great sales period, like just selling lapel pins wasn't going to get us to the point where we could like, transition from our jobs or corporate America or whatever and be able to, do the brand full time, which, essentially was everybody's dream. So we knew that there has to be a next level, right? So it's kind of like on one hand, you're a dreamer. On the other side, you're building up confidence and you're doing things that basically help you mitigate those fears, and then you just bridge the gap.
Big jam. Big jam. How long did it take you before you could quit your job?
I actually just quit my job, man. I've been wanting to make an Instagram post to basically talk about the journey, but like I had, it's a long story, but it's been a work in progress, and I knew that when I was going to leave my career, which is a great paying career, one, I know that I could always go back because I have the credentials and I have the experience to do so, but I made a promise myself that when I was leaving, I wasn't going to be one of those people who like, oh, tried it and came back. Like, I'm not coming back, bro. Like, this is it for me. Like, I put in my time. This is what I want to do. And I also felt like I'd climaxed from, what I can gain personally from my corporate experience. So 2 years ago, I had made the decision that I was going to leave corporate America and try to run the brand full time. As an independent brand, as a brand that's not carried in any retail stores, doesn't have any distribution. So I had to basically accomplish some things, or reach some milestones in my personal life to allow me to do so. So I guess somewhere summer of 2018, I put in this like financial plans, things that I had to do that would allow me to walk away, because I also knew, and that date was set to be. It really was going to be end of 2019, but because of the nature of my job, it's a really busy season in the first quarter, because that's when all the companies, you guys know the whole
Tax
financial
season.
game, like tax, reporting of earnings, 10Ks, or year end audits and things of that nature. So I knew that I didn't want to leave and burn bridges also with my current employer based on my role. So I was going to stay on until the end of Q1 2020. That was my goal. That was like a dream, right? So now I had to do things in my everyday life that would make this dream a reality, because I knew that me going full time with the brand would mean less money. Like I wasn't going to be able to pay myself and have the same benefits that I was getting in corporate America. being my own boss. And that was fine because to me, it's really not about the money. And I really believe that if you do anything with all your heart and might, the money will come. So my last month was March 2020. I'd already put in my notice early in the year. Told my boss, we'd hired a replacement. I was in training, and then COVID happened. So um, it was actually, in a sense, almost perfect timing for me because I was already mentally prepared to be doing something else. And COVID happened, but and then I had to deal with not only going full time, but then thinking about the new world that we live in and how to maneuver and how to sustain and stay in business, which is always your number one goal as an entrepreneur. And so now we're here. Now I'm chatting with you guys.
Are you on podcast, bro? That's when you know, like, you're on the come up when people hunt you down to a podcast.
I appreciate it, man. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, man.
Congrats, man. Congrats
Bro,
on that.
that's big, bro.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and I tell people, I think if entrepreneurship is so celebrated these days, like you have to, and that's great. I think that more people should be in this space, and I think there's so many different waves and forms of entrepreneurship. But I think that especially as entrepreneurs, we have to do the best that we can to educate other entrepreneurs because it's not all glossy. It's not like what it looks like on Instagram. It's not going on vacation. You actually work more, but it's rewarding and it's exciting because I remember I started having these feelings like, man, what am I doing with my life? Like, watching things like Beyonce's Homecoming or whatever. I watch all these type of videos anyway because they're inspiring. I get artistic ideas, whatever. Or even a documentary on which one did I watch? I think it was Big Sean had a couple on YouTube. Just a lot of different content, right? Mm-hmm. And you watch these things, and it almost feels like these people have been alive 100 years. You know what I mean? Like that. At least that's what I see. And it's really because they're not doing the same thing every day. I don't think entrepreneurship is for everyone. I don't think everybody should be in the space. But if you are the type of person who has the tenacity, who has the creativity, who has the resilience and ambition to build an establishment, which at the end of the day, the world needs entrepreneurs because we all need to work for someone, right? Like we work for our customers. We're still very much employed by our customers. Everybody needs to work. An entrepreneur is really just a different role. It's really just a different title, different, your job is to create new platform and bring new ideas into the world. Everybody can't be a doctor. Everybody can't be an engineer. So everybody can't be an entrepreneur. But at the end of the day, I think that it's something to where you're able to bring things so much needed to the world. Like we've talked about the Black eco space, the Black community. It's just been an exciting journey. And my role right now is just, to share and provide as much of my experience and things that have worked out for me. So you guys are free to ask whatever questions you have.
Yeah, man. One thing that we noticed and that we were saying that your brand is doing a great job of is you're making high quality products for a very affordable price.
Man, you guys are asking all the right questions. I'm impressed.
Yeah, man, we did our research, man,
I see.
We did I'm seeing the jackets, I'm seeing the boots, I'm seeing the coats, everything that you're doing is at an affordable price. And before, I never thought about going into tailored wear. I never thought I could afford it. I mean, later on I knew I'm going to afford it, but like this time in my life, I never thought I could look that fly because I knew I'd have to spend like an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
How did you craft your business model to be able to have like very affordable production where you can actually have a great margin and provide the product to the customer at an affordable price?
Oh man, that's such an interesting question. I have to think about where to start. So I have to start with myself because I've always been an extremely reasonable person. I'm super chill. I'm super, I don't believe that, whether it's a house, a car, you can have a studio bedroom apartment. It could be the flyest spot, out of anything you've ever seen, right? So it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And going back to what we talked about earlier with the GQ magazines and stuff, that was part of the problem, or not just GQ, any magazine, is that not only were you not seeing a reflection of yourself in these magazines, but you just couldn't afford it. Like, I have tons of GQ magazines that are pretty much like my Bible. I have a shelf at home where I have probably up to 300 GQ magazines, and every dope outfit would be like $1,500, right?
Yeah.
$700 for like a blazer, not even a blazer. What am I saying? $700 for like a dress shirt. It could be like $3,500 for some, leather monk straps, a $2,000 briefcase. And I always used to ask myself, like, who the fuck is wearing this shit? Like, I don't know anybody who would spend like that, right? But we all want to look like that.
It's ridiculous.
So my whole thing is, it comes back to being a consumer. Back to the advice I give, everyone in my circle and everyone I know, you are your first customer. And if you're in business, which is another thing that I think and I hope we can somehow grow to change and educate ourselves in the Black community, is that it's not really about support. Support is part of it, and we want to support each other as a community, but as a business, you're not entitled to anything, right? It's your job to solve a problem. It's your job to build a solution. So the brand has always been, we're just now being able to tell our brand stories and curate little stories and literally give people a full circle of what it really means, what the Southern Gents lifestyle embodies. And, for me, life is expensive, right? And it's like a pie chart, right? You have to spend a certain amount of your income on housing. You have to spend a certain amount of your income on food, transportation, and then obviously your appearance. And your appearance is important. It's an investment. And while we don't sell dirt cheap clothing, we focus on selling classic, timeless clothing that's also within the reach of a consumer. Because I'm not really a high fashion guy, because I don't have anything against high fashion, but it's just not my thing. I want to spend money on a product, and I don't want to feel any sense of regret. Like, I want to love that product. If I buy a pair of shoes, I want to know that those pair of shoes or boots can last me for 2 to 5 years, if not forever. So, the question is, how much is that worth to you? And worth also has to do with a sense of affordability, because I may love these boots. I might feel like I'll wear these boots for the rest of my life, but I damn sure can't spend $10,000 on them. You know what I mean? So it's just coming back to being realistic, and the concept of minimalism, not just in personal lifestyle, but in business as well. So we will never put any piece of clothing or hat or anything on our shelves that we wouldn't wear or we wouldn't buy. So everything that we produce comes from our perspective and our appetite. Is it something that looks stylish? Is it something that's classic? Is it something that's versatile? And is it something that people actually have access to? And, if you're able to create a formula that encompasses all those things, it'll be fine. Because if people want the product and they actually have the access to it, you're going to make a lot of sales, and that in turn should make you wealthy.
That was part 1 of our episode with Fola Lawson. Part 2 should be linked below.